From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Back in the studio and back with all y'all this Thursday morning, March 13th, 2025. Good morning to everyone and happy pre-St. Patrick's Day. Is that okay? Because I realize it's Thursday. We're not doing a show on Friday, and Monday is St. Patty's Day. I work with a lot of folks that are Irish origin, right? And they all kind of tell me we kind of start celebrating now, especially when St. Patty's is on a Monday, so we can kind of drag it on, which is kind of an Irish tradition of drinking, right? You start on Thursday night, you don't finish till Monday morning. So to everyone tuning in, good morning. Welcome to the show. Packed show. We're going to be talking about our friends over in China, or shall we call them friends, as well as some ransomware attacks, some vulnerabilities, and some good news in terms of investment in cybersecurity in our nation. So we'll get to all of that today on this morning's show. But before we do, you know what's the best part about being back in the studio? Like, honestly, sincerely, what's the best part about being back in the studio? I get my espressos. And you don't understand the joy of an espresso that you make, that you enjoy, that you know is just crafted perfectly by you, for you, for you. It's delicious. It's the best on the planet. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. I'm going to do another sip. I haven't had like good espresso all week. All right. Good morning. Let's get the show going. Volt Typhoon is a significant threat into the U.S. electric grid. If you all recall, Volt Typhoon was the Chinese threat actor group that was building backdoors within the utilities along the east and west coast of the United States, from Guam, Hawaii, and all the way through Seattle, Oregon, California, Nevada, and other states as well. Well, now Dragos is publishing a case study describing how the intrusion attributed to Volt Typhoon actually took place. The target they did the case study on was the Littleton Electric Light and Water Department, a small public utility in Massachusetts. It serves Littleton and Boxborough. The utility was in the process of implementing Dragos's OT when the intrusion was detected, which led to an expedited deployment. The case study by Dragos focused on the benefits of its solution, but let's take a look. You know, this isn't a sales show, and I love Robert Lee, and I think Dragos does an unbelievable job, but, you know, let's focus on what Volt Typhoon actually did. So Microsoft first reported on the group. They were the first to actually recognize what was happening within the Volt Typhoon environment, and their target on critical infrastructure in espionage operation. They've made headlines due to some botnets and use of 0 days. Dragos reported that Volt Typhoon, which the company tracks as Voltzite, we're going to call him Volt Typhoon, Robert, I'm sorry, has been collecting sensitive OT data from hacked organization. In case of the LELWD power utility, they were seen collecting data on OT systems. The significance of the discovery of the attack is highlighting that the adversary not only aimed to maintain persistent access to the victim's environment for a long tenure, which they were in there for nearly 300 days, but we're also aiming to exfiltrate specific data related to OT operating procedure and spatial layout data relating to energy grid operations. This information could be pivotal in helping the adversary know exactly where to attack and when. So I'll give you a prime example of what this means, since I'm in energy for the time being. I'll tell you something very, very interesting here of why they wanted. So when you talk to people in OT, they say, what does OT data matter? In fact, NERC-CIP, the regulatory body, says OT data does not matter. You don't need to really secure it. You need to secure your security plans. But why does OT data matter for the Chinese? Because the grid system in the US is based off of grids, right? And so there's regions with grids, and then those regions have kind of like a regional operator. And that regional operator will say, we need 1,000 megawatts of power today to power through demand. And different power plants will each contribute their share of megawattage to it. So if you're trying to schedule an outage and you go after four power plants and you take them down, right? You could be looking at a temporary outage for specific locations, but then the recovery, the idea of this regionality from NERC-CIP, which is smart from FERC, NERC, Department of Energy, is other power plants would contribute. But if you know the OT operating procedures and you know the data layout relating to grid operations, then you don't need to interrupt the power plant. You could just interrupt the transmission part that goes through. And the transmission part is much harder to secure because it's live 24/7. It rarely can be maintained and dealt with in a significant way unless you're building a workaround to that transmission station. So that's why. So now that I've explained that, when you look at the stage 2 in the ICS cyber kill chain, meaning that they can develop and test specific meaningful attacks on ICS, Volt Typhoon is one of the only active threat groups that have been tracked by Dragos that have such capabilities. So again, you're kind of seeing what the Chinese have in terms of capabilities targeting the electric grid in the US. The idea is disruptions, blackouts. So if they decided to take over Taiwan, what they would do is they would do rolling blackouts that would limit US response, meaning the Navy maybe couldn't get some ships out. You couldn't deploy troops. The troops that needed to be called into base for deployment would have a harder time getting there. You would be delaying the response of the US to potentially defend Taiwan. And so with that being said, they want to do rolling blackouts, and it also hurts the country economically, right? When there's no electricity, there's no commerce. And when there's no commerce, you're essentially, people are at the verge of anarchy. So it creates chaos, meaning police departments, National Guards would have to be deployed, and it would really hinder the ability of the US to be able to respond effectively to what's going on, and it would give China an edge. There's that's you have to understand all of that. Cyber happens in the context. You have to understand that context. That's the context of why they do this. It's a series of events that would limit people. And imagine we're a society today that's driven by news. We're driven by these things. So when we don't have it, people will go crazy. Just look at COVID. All right, there's that. Continuing on China, they're still continuing to target routers. This time, looking at Juniper network devices. Researchers are saying that, according to incident responders from Mandiant, UNC 38886, a Chinese state-backed group, is behind a campaign last year trying to deploy custom backdoors on companies' Junos OS routers. The group appears to be mainly focused on defense technology and telecom organizations located in the US and Asia. So there's that. The Google-owned cybersecurity firm said it worked with Juniper to investigate the activity and found that affected routers were running end-of-life hardware and software. The malware deployed on them demonstrated that they had in-depth knowledge of advanced systems internals. Now, where are these routers made? China, right? So if you understand the routers are made in China, you understand that they understand how the board goes, and their engineers are studying it. And I don't care what people tell me. That's why I insist that we should be producing these types of critical functions in the US, where all functional parts of it should be made in the United States or an allied nation that is owned by an ally of the United States. Otherwise, we have these types of attacks that will come through. By the way, this is a known type of threat vector there as well. So UNC continues to show deep understanding of the underlying technology of appliances being targeted, according to the company, and they're building out custom backdoors to give them persistence to take advantage of zero-day exploits. They're prioritizing stealth and operation, very similar to what they were trying to do in SolarWinds. Yes, I know SolarWinds was Russia, but no, it wasn't just Russia. There was a Chinese element to it. The fact is that the Biden White House quieted that, and that will be coming out, I've been told, by significant folks with information on the SolarWinds attack. The Chinese attribution is forthcoming. So there's that there. There's that. And a good question here from the interpreter: do they fully inspect incoming circuit boards made in China? No, they don't. The fact is that it's randomized. So the Chinese say you're getting a pallet with, let's say, 50 of these circuit boards or 100 of these circuit boards. A random person who's in charge of receiving, who has to do the inspection, will say, let's check 5 random boards. So they'll pick 5 different boards from that pile. They'll inspect them, and if they look good, they know it. But if the back door is built into the hardware, meaning into the actual semiconductor itself during manufacturing, then it doesn't matter if you inspect the circuit board for engineering. You can run it, and it's stealthy, and it remains stealthy while you're inspecting it, And only when they want to turn it on, when they know it's installed, when they want to turn it on, when they're ready to turn it on, will you know. And even then, you're part of the boot process, so you don't discover it. And that's the real threat to the interpreter there. Great question. Thanks for asking. So that's the Chinese threat this morning. Let's focus on that. Let's move on to Medusa ransomware operation impacting 300 critical infrastructure organizations in the United States until last month. The joint advisor issued today by the FBI and the MSISAC says that Medusa developed and affiliates impacted over 300 victims from a variety of critical infrastructure sectors that affected industries including medical, education, legal, insurance, technology, and manufacturing. FBI, CISO, and MSISAC encourage organizations to do some implementations in order to help mitigate the risk coming from the Medusa ransomware incident, mitigate known security vulnerabilities to ensure OSs, softwares, and firmwares are patched within a reasonable time frame. They don't say what that reasonable time frame is, but if you can imagine, within 20 minutes, they're already scanning once there's a known vulnerability. 20 minutes. Segment networks to limit lateral movement between infected devices and other devices within the org, and filter network traffic by blocking access from unknown or untrusted origins to remote service. And all of these can be done only if you have good knowledge of your environment. And I can tell you, if we did a survey right now and it was anonymous, I'd say that number's at 20%, just there. So keep your eyes out for these groups, and it's a good thing to share with your security operations team in order to understand their TTPs and IOCs. And I would reach out to like your IR company, whoever your IR company is, or your EDR, XDR that's been dealing with these ransomware attacks, and say, do you have any IOCs or TTPs you can share with us so that we can start really threat hunting to see if any of these items are happening within our environment as well. Microsoft, after the patch Tuesday yesterday, he said is now saying that the newly patched zero-day vulnerabilities in the Windows Win 32 kernel subsystem was being exploited since March of 2023, meaning it took them nearly 2 years to patch this zero-day vulnerability. That's CVE 2025-249-83. It was reported to Microsoft by ESET researcher Philippe Giraco. The vulnerability is caused by a use after free weakness that lets attackers with low privilege gain system privileges without requiring any user interaction. Apparently, this has been used in attacks since 2023 or 2022. Kaspersky said they found it back in 2022. Federal agencies were ordered until to patch this up by April 1st. So CISA added all 6 of those 0 days to its Kev catalog as well. So the work there and patching takes forever. Gray Noise is warning of a coordinated surge of exploitation of server-side request forgery vulnerabilities spanning across multiple platforms. The vulnerabilities are being exploited are in the .NET Nuke, the Zimbra Collaboration Suite, the VMware vCenter, the VMware Workspace ONE UEM, the GitLab CE and EE, both of those, the Columbia Soft Document Locator, the Berry AI Lite LLM, and Ivanti Connect Secure, as well as OpenBMCS and Zimbra Collaboration Suite attempts. There's no CVEs on the final 2. All the rest do have CVEs. Those can be found at cyberhubpodcast.com, where you can get all the latest there. By the way, speaking of OT and everything happening, right, and we talked about China, and we're seeing all of these things take place. One thing I'll note is in just a few short weeks here in Atlanta, Georgia, the inaugural Level Zero conference is taking place. I'll be there. I believe April 1st. We're going to be recording some shows and doing a whole bunch of stuff there. We're still working out those details. I'll share more of those. But here's a little bit about what you can expect there. And there is a discount code in the show notes if you want to get your pass now.
Are you prepared to deal with the constantly evolving cybersecurity threats to your operational technology systems? The Level Zero conference is happening from March 31st through April 2nd. And is designed to meet the unique needs of enterprise teams responsible for safeguarding the critical cyber-physical systems at the heart of their organization. Level Zero offers hands-on workshops led by industry leaders with years of practical experience. Register today and secure your spot at levelzeroconference.com.
All right, there's that. Go check that out. Let's continue with Facebook warning of a free type vulnerability in all versions up to 2.13 that can lead to arbitrary executions. Reports that the flaw is being exploited in attacks. Free type, for those who don't know, is an open source font rendering library used to display text and programmatically add text to images. It provides functionality to load, rasterize, and render fonts in various formats like TrueType, OpenType, and others. The library is installed in millions of systems and services, including Linux, Android, game engines, GUI frameworks, in online platforms. The CVE being tracked is 2025-27363. It was given an 8.1 CVSS score, and it's fixed in FreeType version 2.13.0. So you want to make sure you get that patched up. For all of you aficionados of the Zoom, you want to make sure you get that patched up here. 3 different Zoom vulnerabilities were discovered and now patched up. Those are CVEs 2025-27440, 27439, and 0151 and 0150. They affect Zoom workplace apps, Zoom room controls, and Zoom meetings SDK. And all of this affects versions prior to 6.3.0. So you can go check those out as well. And good news. I want to end the show on good news. All right? I do. I want to end the show on good news. This warms my heart. The University of South Florida in Tampa is establishing a college dedicated to cybersecurity and AI following the largest gift in the university's history. Investors Arnie and Lauren Bellini donated $40 million to the school to establish the Bellini College of Artificial Intelligence, Cybersecurity, and Computing. USF officials say it's the first U.S. school to combine cyber and AI education in one college. The investment is the latest in a series of financial gifts from Bellini, the former CEO of ConnectWise, which private equity titan Thomas Bravo brought for $1.5 billion in 2019. He donated $10.6 million in 2022 to Tampa-based USF, his alma mater, to establish the Bellini Center for Talent Development within the university's Muma College of Business. He's contributed $500,000 last year to St. Leo's University, also in Tampa. So, look, say we're always behind the 8 ball, but people like the Bellinis come in here, dump $40 million of their hard-earned money into building a college that will build the skills and that's needed there. USF has a student event, by the way, on April 15th, where my good friend Roger Grimes is speaking. So if you're in the Tampa Bay area and you can attend it, you should. I would, but it's Passover week and we won't have a show during Passover. It's 1 week I really take off of the show all year. But if it wasn't on Passover, I'd totally be there. And in support of what USF is doing here and the Bellini family, thank you for investing in the future of America in cybersecurity and AI and connecting those dots. Now the school has to get good faculty and market that program effectively and start bringing out the next geniuses that are going to be leading our technology infrastructure for years and years to come. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. We'll be back Monday, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2025, at 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Next week, by the way, show is here. The week after that, I'll be at CyberTech in Israel. The show will be live from Israel every single day while I'm out there. Really excited. I'll be speaking at the CyberTech conference. We'll be talking about Iran, geopolitical. I'll be speaking. The panel is actually with some really esteemed members, former generals from the IDF, from Ukraine, from Canada, and so many others. So really looking forward to that. So if you're in Israel, please hit me up. Let me know. Looking forward to it. Till then, have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend, y'all. And most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.